we've talked about this man before. We've talked about what he's up to.
Uh-huh.
Why did they call it breast games if I don't get to see a single breast in the whole show?
This is just a sign of our anti-sex culture that
That's
we're
right.
currently living in.
That's right.
Gen Z does not want breasts.
It doesn't push the narrative forward, is what Gen Z says. They want the narrative. They don't want the breasts.
That's right.
Well, and why would he even call himself Mr. Breast then?
It's all, it's just marketing. It's marketing.
Yeah.
It's the he's a YouTuber at the end of the day. You know what people did on YouTube in the old days? Clickbait.
Yeah.
It's all clickbait.
It's all
fucking
clickbait.
You put breasts in the thumbnail, it's over. That gets 10 trillion views.
I have had enough of this sex negative culture to last me a lifetime. I need Jimmy Donaldson sucking and fucking.
Yes.
I'm sucking and fucking 500,000 people in 1 hour.
Just half-lidded eyes staring 1,000 miles into the distance as he
half-lidded
plows.
eyes. That's such a perfect explanation of what's going on with his face at all times.
Yeah, he's mid-cum at all times.
Is that how you come?
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast that's about to come. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
I'm the worst of
coming.
all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Brians. It sounds a little different, folks.
It does.
yeah,
We're all
We're
together.
in an unusual recording situation because it is very fucking hot in New York.
We're
so
in
hot.
my home.
And we're in AJ's living room because he has very good air conditioning.
That's right.
It's like industrial vents. It's really lovely.
But
The breasts of the home.
that I'm always saying this, and we might as well take a moment right now to introduce our guest because you've already heard a little bit of her, and we are excited to have her right here in person with us.
Woo!
She is one of the co-hosts of Western Kabuki, the premier podcast about what's going on online, and she's also social media editor for The Onion. But here's the other thing, folks. She's also the co-host of a new podcast that you might have heard of, a podcast called Ill Conceived. We've got June Sternbach in the house.
Hello, it's really amazing. Like, usually we look in each other's eyes on a screen, but
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is way better to, like, I'm looking at you. I can turn. I'm turning a little. No, I'm turning at you. It's
Yeah, you're in a
beautiful.
swiveling chair.
I feel like I'm being interviewed.
I'm
right
really
now.
excited for the 360 that you pull at some point during this and go wee.
It's when
That is not a joke, folks. June is in a swiveling chair, and she is swiveling all around.
Oh yeah, no, I'm moving, I'm zipping, I'm zooming.
Moving and
and
grooving.
talking about MrBeast, I don't know if you said, I mean, we're talking about MrBeast, and I'm very excited. I'm gonna start swiveling. I'm
Great.
gonna start spinning. He makes me so excited.
So, June, before we get into talking about today's subject matter, which of course is Beast Games, the Amazon original series brought to you by MrBeast himself,
Siri's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, Josh. Yes.
I would love to ask just about like, what is your experience with MrBeast, his whole deal, and also how has that intersected with your time doing like podcasts?
So I've known about MrBeast for a long time. I kind of love talking about my first introduction to MrBeast because it was back when I was in college,
Okay.
a long
Oh.
time ago at this point. It was, I think it had to have been 2017 or 2018. I don't remember how long ago exactly it was, but it was very early on in the Beast lore, in the Beast days.
Yeah, that's when
Sure,
he's like
yeah.
really starting to break through.
It was.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who was dating this guy at the time who was really into MrBeast.
Okay.
And he came to us and was like, you have to watch this video. He put on the video on the TV. And it was like, it was a video about putting 1 million Orbeez in a pool in the backyard of MrBeast's like lawn or
1
something.
1 million what?
Orbeez. Do you know what an Orby is?
No.
An Orby is, I don't know the mechanics behind it, but basically you like put these little like plastic orbs, genuinely small
Squishy
orbs,
balls, yeah.
Okay.
into water and they expand.
Okay.
And
Okay.
So it just, the video, if I remember correctly, was basically them filling this pool with so many Orbeez that they start overflowing. It's the typical MrBeast excess,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes,
a lot
yes,
of
of
stuff
course.
happens and it's colorful.
Yeah, I actually remember that one because when I was prepping our episode that we did about MrBeast, like for a couple years ago,
Yeah.
the Orbeez one was one that I was considering including in the playlist because one of Jimmy's friends like almost drowns in the Orbeez.
Is he laughing the whole time? Is
No,
he like
he's very afraid.
Okay, he's no, I meant Beast. Was Beast laughing at his
Of
friend?
course he was.
Yeah. Oh,
Drowning is drowning funny. We have yet to decide. maybe it's kind of low key funny.
So what were your impressions of Jimmy Donaldson from this video? Do you remember?
So me, my partner at the time, and the person, my friend who he was dating, we all just started dunking on him like, why are you watching this shit? What is this? What are you watching? That's what we said. We're like, are you like 7 years old? Are you 10? Yeah. And so we watched a few more. I don't really remember after that, but we were just confused mostly. Like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Why are we being shown this by a 22-year-old?
Right. And if you're a senior in college, what you should be watching is the Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah,
we all know this.
That's right, AJ.
That's cinema. That
is cinema.
Yeah.
It's cinema massacred.
I feel like that aligns pretty well with what I've heard from a lot of people in terms of their first experience with this guy, where if you're not a literal child and you're watching this shit, it's like, bro, what are you doing? However, we all co-host, of course, a podcast about popular culture.
Right.
That means that I have taken it upon myself to keep up on what the culture is. And so I exposed, of course, both Brian and AJ to this shit.
You
they
were
wanted me to die.
Yeah, we were.
You were breast virgins.
Yeah, genuinely.
Suckling at the teat.
Before 2 years ago, I'd never seen a breast before in my life. But it was fascinating because it was an insight to one of the most popular people on the planet Earth.
Right.
That I had never heard of outside of watching our buddy Patrick Williams' thing where he won a GameStop. That was a contest that MrBeast was running like years and years and years ago. But I was just like, oh, that's just some YouTuber that I don't really have to pay attention to. But it turns out this guy like commands a following on par with like a religious leader. And what we talked about in that episode, in our first episode of MrBeast, is sort of the origins of what we refer to as Saint Jimmy, right? The idea that Jimmy Donaldson had this army of basically kids who would do whatever he wanted and built in like a business empire off of that. And we're wondering, like, would he go down a good path? Or would he follow his idol Elon Musk down a much darker path? And after having watched after having watched breast games, I can confirm.
Poisoned the well.
I can confirm undoubtedly that he is down the dark path.
He chose the left-hand path for sure.
Okay, well, we're gonna ignore the anti-left-handedness bias from known righty Josh Boerman.
I also
just another tick against you.
I love that you paused after you said beast as if you said something wrong just to correct yourself to say breast.
I saw the time knife.
Well, when we watched MrBeast, I actually had kind of a charitable read on him at the end of it. Like AJ, you said at the end, like, I feel like I'm seeing the villain origin story. And I was like, I don't know if I'd go that far. And now I'm like, put him in the ground.
I feel like as often tends to be the case on the show, I feel like I staked out the middle position.
Yeah.
And it's like, it could go either way at this point. The thing is,
you feel that way now?
No, of course not.
This is a guy who became very, very famous and very, very wealthy before he was an adult, and he has no sense of perspective on life whatsoever.
Yes.
No.
And now it's very clear that he never will.
Yeah.
No.
Which is oftentimes the case when you achieve an incredible amount of fame and or wealth while your brain is still developing.
Yes.
Because you never really have to experience the world outside of that context. And I think that with Beast Games, what we see is the first thing that he has created where he is attempting to condense his worldview down to a project.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that. But before we get to actually talking about Beast Games, because we're going breast games, because we're going to be obviously going through the whole thing, I did just want to say, AJ, of course, mentioned that we have done an episode about MrBeast, and this episode goes all the way from his very first video that he ever made, worst Minecraft saw trap ever, and that one concludes with what was the latest video at that point, which is 1,000 blind people see for the first time, which was sort of the early exploration into what if I become, a saint.
Yeah.
And
the good altruist.
Exactly.
That's what that was like his turn.
The effective altruist.
And that was, I feel, when he really hit his beginning of his peak popularity. That was when so many people found out who he was.
And I just wanted to note before we jump into Beast Games that we are going to also be going on an episode of Western Kabuki. Brian and I are. And we're going to be talking more about what MrBeast has been up to since then on YouTube. So that'll be a fun little piece of content that you can check out over there.
More MrBeast videos.
I'm always saying that. I've been saying since college, yay, I'm so glad I get to watch more Orbeez in pools and more Minecraft traps.
Does he still use the theme song?
No, he hasn't used the theme song.
Okay.
Like, we were the first people to listen to that theme song in like 5 years when we did our episode about it.
It's like,
it's so stuck in your head, AJ, and I hate it, and I hate you.
So MrBeast is always on the cutting edge of YouTube trends.
Yeah.
Intro songs, and specifically intros as a whole on YouTube, are just not the meta anymore.
Yeah, no, they're
gone
gone.
by the wayside in the last couple of years.
Because the algorithm doesn't favor them anymore.
Yeah,
Right, you have to have that quick click-through retention.
It's
and
so
he
funny
is tuned into that.
Yeah.
the way that he talks about making this stuff too, because part of being a YouTuber is that kind of transparency. Here's how I make this stuff. Reveal a certain amount so that makes it feel like everyone knows everything that you're up to.
Right.
But that's also just the only thing he ever thinks about. So he's when we watch this, like those reunion shows they do on reality shows after they're done. They did one of those for Beast Games, and he is like, oh yeah, well, the big thing now is the fact that most people watch YouTube now on TV, right? It's more than 50% of the YouTube audience. And it's like, who cares? Who gives a shit? I'm hearing about you talking about business strategy and then like what it means. So that's why he's like, because they're talking about, oh, has this changed the way that you're going to do things going forward? Right. And there's one sense where he's talking about storytelling, but then the other stuff is like, yeah, we bought nicer cameras and we're doing 4K because people watch TVs now.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is he is like onto something that does change like viewership habits. But that is the
slower
only
edits
and we'll probably get more into this as we talk about the Beast Games itself, the way he views the world and content and just like human relations. But he is always tuned into this very narrow view of views over everything. I think is like maybe my thesis of him, I guess. Views over all else.
I want to frame up now what Beast Games actually is, right? Because it is a show in which 1,000 people compete for a $5 million cash prize.
Yes.
And the whole reason that this thing exists in the first place is that, well, for one thing, the big video that made MrBeast
I have ruined this for everybody.
The big thing that made Jimmy sort of break through to the mainstream, such as it is, was his video, $456,000 Squid Game in real life, which he published to his channel in November 2021. And this remains his most viewed video. We talked about it in that episode.
Right.
And it currently sits on 812 million views.
Jesus
This
Christ.
really put him on the map. And we speculated a little bit about, like, did he get the license? Didn't he get the license from Netflix? We'll probably never know. But the point is, somebody at Amazon, I should say, realized that this could potentially make for engaging content that would draw eyeballs. Now, the thing about the $456,000 Squid Game in real life video, and
just rolls off the tongue.
I know, I love it, is that
really goes.
there is something specific about sort of the tone that he's able to find in the way that he's sort of able to merge his aesthetic and sensibility with this other property.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing is like people kind of saw the existence of this video of like turning Squid Game into an actual game show. And they're like, this is horrifying. Didn't you watch the show? And we watched it. We're like, you know what? It seems kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's actually a
pretty
pretty
harmless,
fun,
I think.
silly little video that doesn't last too long. And also like Squid Game, for all the great emotional beats that it hits, it's also pretty schlocky.
Yeah. Well, it's a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a very well done soap opera, and I think it has some, cool things to say about capitalism, but like it's a little bit
And
schlocky.
I think one of the reasons why like Netflix didn't go after him was because then Netflix was like, oh shit, we can do this for real.
Right.
Yeah.
And they made an absolutely horrifying
I never watched that. Was that
reality
version,
show.
yeah.
When did that come out?
It had a long turnaround, so then it didn't come out on actual broadcast until 2023.
in November 2023, so 2 years after MrBeast's video.
That was all filmed in London. They actually, I think, finished filming just a little bit earlier this year, the second season of the Netflix Squid Game reality show. It's a very expensive show. It has 1,000 people. It's like it gives away $4.35 million, which I think is just like the direct translation of the amount of won in the TV show.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure.
And as a result, MrBeast comes up with an idea of doing his own version of the Squid Game reality show, but it's his reality show sort of packaging up a sort of best of his own puzzles and things for a very, very large budget. There was actually a bidding war. We don't know who the other bidder was.
Really?
But there was another company that was looking to maybe get this. Amazon won out.
It was
because...
It's on Fruby. It's on,
I would
on
assume
Fruby?
my assumption, based on absolutely nothing, was that it was probably Disney. It just kind of feels like that
If
would be
Amazon
something Disney
won
would do.
out,
Yeah.
it had to have been a very high bidder.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been Netflix because they already owned the real IP
Right,
and they were making
right.
their own real thing. Yeah.
Prime was working with other YouTubers. Markiplier made a narrative podcast that then got adapted into a TV show. Amazon had also done some other narrative podcasts into TV shows, but that was called The Edge of Sleep. They made it into a TV show. It's not very good, but it has a lot of high ratings on IMDb because he told his fans to give it high ratings.
The edge of sleep is what I was avoiding while I was watching Beast games late at night.
I was edging
That's true.
sleep.
Goons.
There's also just like other YouTubers that are on there where they've just packaged up their YouTube shit and put it on Prime. So this is part of a clear strategy where I think Amazon is trying to get these big YouTubers, not just to get, I don't know, more kids to pester their parents into getting Amazon Prime.
Or to buy those Feastables bars.
But I
I love a
also...
Lunchly. Have you guys ever had a Lunchly?
Yeah, I like my cheese
will
drippy,
not-
bro.
I will not have
I've
a
had a
Lunchly.
Lunchly. I've eaten a
Are they
Lunchly.
not the cheese drippy?
mold?
I did not get mold. I was hoping. That's
okay.
that's the toy.
I
Fingers
like my
crossed.
mold drippy. So I think the other big thing, and again, this is me just sort of looking at stuff and not having a lot of basis for this, but I think another big thing is it's Prime trying to move into various international markets
Yeah.
where they
sure.
didn't have much of a foothold, because one of the big things after Breast Games aired its first episode was he posted like what the viewership metrics were in a bunch of different countries around the world.
And of course, all of those countries have a version that is dubbed into their language because as we talked
sometimes
about
by
in,
famous actors. Yeah.
right, because as we talked about in our episode about his YouTube stuff, that's something he's been doing from the very beginning.
Because you don't get to be the top YouTuber without thinking international.
Right.
So what Donaldson does is he invests a lot of money into this thing, his production company. Of course, Amazon invests a lot of money into this. This is the first time he's really doing something with another studio.
Yes, the Amazon press release goes out on March 18, 2024. And basically it's just saying, hey, we've ordered a total, like a complete show called Beast Games, $5 million cash prize, and then a whole bunch of stuff about how like MrBeast has captured the attention and imagination of fans of all ages, blah, 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 blah.
It's going to be the biggest thing. It's
Typical
gonna
press
cost the
release
most
stuff.
money.
Yeah.
We don't know about the budget for Squid Game, The Challenge. MrBeast said on Logan Paul's podcast, Impulsive,
That's a lot of
That's the worst sentence you've ever said to me.
that Beast Games cost about $100 million and that there was a bit of a loss, actually, that it operated at for season 1. I don't know if that's entirely true. I think it's probably mostly true. I think I think that his production company and Amazon spent more money on Beast Games than Netflix did on Squid Game, The Challenge.
Yeah.
And if you ever
You wouldn't know
watch,
it by looking at
that's
it,
the
but
thing is,
yeah.
if you ever watch Squid Game, The Challenge, it's a much more elaborate and good looking show.
That's what's interesting about
Yeah.
the MrBeast, the Beast City set, which I think we'll probably talk
Yeah.
about a little bit more.
Yes, the
it's
gulag.
really bare bones. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of a gulag. It's pretty bare bones. There's like 20 houses. There's like towers. There's those
they
big
do
towers, which seems to
CGI.
be
Yeah.
They
To
do
build a
CGI
moat.
to make
It's
it
a CGI
look like
moat.
it's a more elaborate set than
Where
it
did they
is.
spend all this money? Something I don't know if you have this in the notes at all,
Yeah.
but they built this city up in Ontario.
Yeah.
Right.
And immediately took it down. You can if there was like a drone that flew over where they were filming, and there's just like scars in the grass. You could see where everything was placed. So they built this huge thing and immediately took it down. So that probably added a fair bit
Yeah.
to the cost.
That's crazy.
Well, and whether you're talking about the set, the costumes, anything else, it becomes so clear so early on that artistic vision and or execution on said vision is not Jimmy's strong suit.
No.
This
Coherence.
There was a YouTube like pre-elimination challenge, right? He put this up
Yeah.
on his YouTube channel to promote the release of the Amazon MGM show. And
2,000 people fight for $5 million.
That's the one.
Was the
Yeah.
title.
So this was released on the exact same day as the first 2 episodes of Beast Games
Okay.
on Amazon. right? But this is not, I don't even think that Amazon has any involvement with this episode. It is a purely MrBeast production. It doesn't happen in Toronto. It happens in Las Vegas, Nevada, to take advantage of a tax deal with the state of Nevada.
It's all in the Raiders NFL stadium.
Yeah, the Allegiant station. And
Station?
Choo-choo. It's riding the train today, you know. The Allegiant Stadium. And this feels like it was a kind of a later idea. Like they got the show, they got the green light, they were all in a thing. And he was like, oh, I know how to like cross-pollinate here. What if we got 2,000 people?
Right.
Brought them over to here where we can get a tax break.
Just imagine the narratives. There's so much more narrative
many
potential.
stories.
2,000 of them.
Well,
So many characters.
So many viewership units.
And that's the thing about narrative potential, right? He says at the end of this video, which nobody should watch, by the way, the following.
I finally have the opportunity to develop characters, tell longer stories, and go beyond YouTube with a streaming series unlike anything you've ever seen before. If you've ever enjoyed my content, if I can ask you for anything ever, it would be to watch
Jimmy.
Beast Games Episode 1 for free on Prime Video right now. You'll get to see which one of those 1,000 people wins this $5 million in cash. I'm gonna start the show. Head over to Prime Video and watch Beast Games. I am standing on $5 million of real money.
Yeah, it becomes the actual preview clip for Beast Games. And what's important is that the first episode is free. You could go to Amazon Prime and just watch it for free without having Amazon Prime.
I wouldn't.
But you did. You still did.
But
But
if you were one of these 9-year-old kids who just watched this video of 1,000 people getting eliminated in a couple of days at a stadium in Las Vegas, you're going to keep going.
So I didn't watch this preview.
Yeah.
How were they eliminated? What was
They
the
played
qualifying?
actual games. These were actually better games than most of the show.
It was like there was one that was like capture the flag, but it was like they had put them out. They also had to lift like was it like 10,000?
There was one where it was sort of like tug of war, but they lifted a big giant weight. It should also be said when you hear about the lawsuits regarding Beast Games, they're from this.
Okay.
They're from the people who were involved in this video. It was 2,000 people in one stadium who were sleeping there. In the
on the
stadium.
floor of the stadium itself.
There were porta potties, which
Sleepaway
really
camp.
confuses me. I was like, why were there porta potties? Because it's a stadium. It has
There should be
bathrooms.
Maybe the facility didn't let them use the restrooms.
Maybe. So
I respect his dedication to make it as brutal as Squid Games.
Yes.
You really captured that.
It's so interesting because it actually does have the Squid Game feel in the way the main show doesn't. And there was a big long article done in Las Vegas media where they interviewed medics and crew members who worked on the show. It was a fucking nightmare. So you have 2,000 people, medics on a big project like this. They're going to be holding on to people's medication unless it's emergency medication like inhalers.
Sure.
Right.
So they're showing up and things have been handed over to producers from 2 or 3 different hotels that people are staying at, because they did give them hotels at the beginning, but then once the game started, they had to sleep in the stadium.
Because they were trying to like capture and create drama amongst the contestants.
I guess,
there.
but they don't even have footage from that night. It's so weird. And so they have 750 people's medication in little Ziploc bags that they're trying to take care of, because medics have to be like trained. There's a lot more that goes into being a medic, but the producers fuck this all up.
Right.
And then the producers were also telling people they could check all kinds of other stuff. It's like, oh, you have your wallet on you. You should go over to the medics and do that. People were trying to check Bibles, and I think I'm pretty sure who exactly was trying to check your Bible.
Exactly was trying to check that Bible.
We'll get there, but someone had a seizure. 6 people were hospitalized.
Jesus.
The porta potties overflowed, and someone woke up with their sleeping bag in a sea of human shit.
Absolute fuck. That person deserves the $5 million just for that.
So there was that
They'll
local.
probably get it in the lawsuit.
So there was that local article, which we'll link to in the notes, and it's very worth reading. It is very, very long, but it's absolutely horrifying, and it does sound like. There's another Rolling Stone article that talks about like crew and contestants and stuff. It does sound like a lot of the problems are abated by the time we get to Ontario, and Amazon is actually in charge of that production. People weren't even getting food in Las Vegas. It was a Firefest lunch situation.
I mean,
whereas in Ontario, it sounds like people were eating pretty well.
But you think about it too, with Amazon having the resources they do, having the lawyers they do, having probably more people working on that team who have experience with unscripted television.
Yeah.
They're going to cover their fucking bases, you know?
But I want us all to remember that this is a learning experience for Mr. Beast. At the end of the day, the thing he takes away from this is just like, this was a learning experience that we can really go ahead and make it better the next time. Well, for the next 2 seasons.
That's right, folks.
Of this fucking show.
They are shooting season 2 as we speak.
Right now, today.
In North Carolina. And I will be there. I will be seated.
I wanted to ask about the blue jersey, June.
But another thing worth noting is that this article is very revealing about like the production process. Because like the people on the crew are like, decisions were being made last minute. Like they were going to do something shot during the day, and then Jimmy Donaldson decided it's going to be shot at night instead.
Sure.
The day of, which means you're just going to be there for another 6 hours before the sun sets, and then you're going to be working the 12 hours of doing that whole shoot.
Explains why everybody looks so tired all the time.
And it also explains why this thing is so fucking expensive without looking so expensive.
Sure, because you're paying crew overtime.
You're paying tons of overtime. I mean, I think in Ontario they did get union crew. In Las Vegas they were non-union. Okay. There were some issues with the crew. The contestants not so much, but definitely with the crew in Ontario. But like, this is a guy who's so used to just having a shit ton of money and making things the way that he makes them for YouTube. And for Amazon Prime, he's suddenly finding himself working with actual professionals who have worked on reality television before and are like, no, you just have a call sheet that makes sense and has all the information, and you hire everyone you need.
This is super fascinating. I was curious the length that this entire show took to shoot, because it's not really clear that day passed, like how many days passed during the production of the show.
In the middle.
It's a month.
It's a whole month. So these people lived in this beast city for a whole month.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating, because the way that the show is produced and presented to us, they're like Mr. Beast at several different points will talk about how, and some of the contestants will talk about the connections that they make with some of the different contestants in the show, but they never really show any of that.
It's super fucking disorienting, because you'll hear people be like, I have spent so much time and made so many lifelong friends. And it's like, I've seen you in one other shot.
Yes. In the background, half hidden by 4 other people.
And this is a problem that the Netflix show has too, because even though it had long turnaround and it's edited like better, you don't really, I guess they did it on purpose, but you don't see the winner focused on until 2 episodes before the end of the Netflix show. Like, and with this show, it's much faster turnaround, right? They film it in the summer and it comes out in December of the same year. And so your first team of editors who are working with the game that had 1,000 people and hundreds of cameras on the floor, there was over 1 million gigabytes of footage for this series. There's only so much you can do before you just have to give up and throw something in.
And that's where the first problem for me comes in, which is right away, which is if you're going to have 1,000 contestants and try to whittle it down to, I believe, what was it, 518?
Something like
in
that.
In the first episode. What are we even doing here? What is the purpose if you're not creating characters, not creating narratives with half of the contestants, which they are all eliminated by a press of a button or a lack thereof.
Yeah, and not even their own press of a button, right? People are eliminated for literally nothing in their control.
I think the big thing to just keep in mind that we've talked about up top here is the tension between Jimmy's essentially all-controlling power that he enjoys with his own company.
His aspirations for that, certainly.
And which I think concretely, just strictly from a labor perspective, he does enjoy at his own company, right?
I see, yes.
Versus how it works when he is working with a team of other people who are real industry people. Those tensions are going to be visible and vivid in many cases.
Yes.
The first episode of Beast Games opens, and we heard actually the beginning at the tail end of that last clip, right? With Jimmy doing a classic MrBeast shot. If you've ever seen any of his videos, this is him yelling at you, be like, I've done this, right?
And the drone flies out and you see the whole room that he's in.
I'm sitting on this giant pile of money. Yeah. Someone get me down. I do not know how to get down from this pile of money.
So here's that clip.
I am standing on $5 million of real money, the largest grand prize in entertainment history. And competing for this $5 million are these 1 contestants.
That is shredding his vocal cords.
Oh, yeah.
What you
can
are
hear the
witnessing
strain.
is real. A record-breaking number of 1,000 players is currently stampeding this arena. But only one of these 1,000 people you are seeing will have what it takes to beat everyone around them and take home this generational wealth of $5 million.
really what that phrase means.
To Beast Games.
I grew up homeless, and now I want to help other homeless kids. And that $5 million would mean everything to help me get there.
That's one
If I win
Yeah, that's
$5 million, I could use that to make passive income for the rest of my life.
Love
It
passive
would
income.
provide me the opportunity to retire my dad. Difference that
Forcibly.
money can make and how it can support a community. Completely getting my whole family out of the poverty pipeline.
There's a lot of clowns that want to donate the money. I'm buying jet skis and gold chains.
I will die for this. I will die for $5 million.
This is gonna be crazy. Everyone's so excited. Good luck, man. This show is bigger than anything you could ever imagine.
Meanwhile, there's one clown who's just like, I just want to cure cancer.
So we also learned that later on, they're also going to be giving away an island. But big question that I have for all of us right now, right? MrBeast's whole thing is giving away money. We know this.
Oh, yeah.
The new Oprah of our day, basically.
Exactly.
Yes.
But what does this opener that we've just listened to tell us about how America thinks about money right now and how that compares or contrasts with how Jimmy himself thinks about money?
Jimmy doesn't give a shit, really, at the end of the day about money. Money means nothing to him at this point because he always finds a way to get more of it.
Yeah.
He always talks in his fucking interviews about he's like, well, I spend all the money that I make
yes.
on these videos,
He
so
talks
I
about
really
it-
don't have a lot of money. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit, Jimmy.
And he talks
you
about
own
it
a town in North Carolina.
In this very fucking show, there's a point at which he turns to the camera and is like, yeah, we went over budget.
Meanwhile, there are people here more than $500,000 in debt,
Yeah.
whose lives are like destroyed by capitalism that he is using as his own personal play toys. And it makes it so difficult to enjoy a single moment of this show.
I mean, it's already hard to enjoy a moment of this show, but
right.
that certainly doesn't help.
Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.